Hi everyone, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you today how to work with rullas and do our Rulla Snakeskin bracelet. It's actually a peyote bracelet. This one here has a pattern. I'm just going to show you the simple way to do it. With this bracelet, I'm working with the rullas, and we even threw some of the faux super duos in there, as well as 8/0 beads. For today's purpose, I'm going to show you using 11/0 seed beads, so that way you get to see the variety and kind of what the look will be. I'm using for my beads the aqua virtual matted for the rullas, and then my seed beads are going to be the chartreuse lined AB beads as well. So the first thing I've done is use 0.008 wildfire beading thread with a size 10 needle. I've put a stop bead on, and I've put 3 beads of my rullas on, separated by groups of 2 seed beads. I've ended with 2 seed beads, and I'm going to get ready to build my next row onto it. To do that, what I'm going to do is take my needle through the top hole of the same Rulla bead that my thread was coming out of. So I've gone from left to right and strung my needle. Now I'm going to be going from right to left. I'm going to string my needle through that first Rulla and pull tight. What's going to happen then is those 2 little seed beads that were on the sides are going to just cover up my thread and just look a little bit ornate there. I'm going to pick up my next Rulla and sew through the second Rulla that I put on originally, and it's just the next one that's in line. So I'm going to constantly be adding a bead and sewing through the next bead that's in the line. Add a bead, sew through the next bead that's in the line. Give a nice tight pull when you get to the end of your lines, and that's going to get it to be nice and tight so you don't see a lot of your extra thread. At the end of a row, you want to add 2 seed beads, just like we did on the side here in the first row. I'm also adding one of my Rulla beads. I'm going to go through the beads that are sticking up and have the empty holes. So I'm turning my needle to go the opposite direction, and I'm sewing through always the beads, just like in peyote, the beads that are sticking up. After I have that, I'm going to pick up my next Rulla bead. Again, sew through the next bead in line that is sticking up. So this is a really easy peyote stitch because you don't really have to keep track of what you're doing because the beads are already on there and they already have the 2 holes. When I get to the end here to finish out, I put my Rulla on, and then when I'm on the side again, I'm going to use 2 of my seed beads. So every time you're on the side, you're going to be adding 2 seed beads. I'm sewing through the top hole of the Rulla of that same one, pulling nice and tight to get it nice and close. And then I'm going to be adding more of my rullas. And you're just going to keep working and adding the rullas in between the other ones that were on the row before. Again, when you get to the end, you're going to add 2 of your seed beads. And if I was working with the 8s, like I did for the last project, you're only going to use 1 seed bead. I put my seed bead on and my Rulla on, and then I sew through the next one in line that has an empty hole. Pull nice and tight, and that's going to sit that right on the side. Again, I'm going to keep going, sewing down and up, and adding the rullas in between, and when I get to the sides, adding the seed beads. Rulla goes on, another Rulla here, and add my 2 seed beads through the top hole of the Rulla. And the nice thing with this is, with most 2-hole beads, you don't really have to know what you're doing as far as odd count or even count. Because I've started with 3 beads, this is actually an odd count peyote. This one here, I started with 4 beads, so it was an even count. But you don't really need to know that when you're working with 2 holes, because you don't have to do the traditional method of working with odd count peyote. And that also allows you to really pick and choose what design you wanted to do. If I wanted to do different rows, this one here, we did that zigzag going through it with the lighter beads. And you just continue on the end of the way. When I get to the end of my project, I'll show you on this next row after these here how I would finish it off. because there's all different ways to end your bracelets. We have a number of videos that show you the different ways to end peyote or end herringbone, and just what beads we suggest or what clasp we're putting on using the wire protectors. So there's a number of different options that you can use. When I'm ending here, I'm going to end on a row that have 3 beads sticking up. And basically, to close up the holes between those, so I don't have a Rulla that has an empty little hole sticking out there, I'm going to mimic the start. So in the start, if you remember, what we did was put on a Rulla and 2 seed beads, Rulla 2 seed beads. I'm going to fill in these holes on this side with my 2 seed beads. So through the Rulla. And then I'm going to add 2 more seed beads. On this side, when I get to the end, what I can do is I can make a loop if I want to. I can attach a bar clasp. For this one, I'll just show you making a simple loop. I would add as many seed beads as I need to if I was adding a button clasp or a closure. On this one, what we did was added a toggle clasp. And all I'm doing is I'm adding enough seed beads to go around that button or that closure. If I wanted to add a toggle, I could add it on now. I'm just going to add enough seed beads that it goes a little bit of a loop. After I get done adding however many seed beads I wanted to, I'm going to sew back through the top hole of the Rullas, so that way I'm circling around. And anytime I do a clasp or a closure and I'm attaching it, I always want to make sure to reinforce. So you're going to sew the whole way back through that line of seed beads that you did. We sewed through this one about 4 times in order to put the toggle clasp on. And on the other side, I'll do the same thing if I have attaching a clasp. If not, what I'll do is make that same loop, add a button or add a lobster clasp and attach in that fashion. So it's that same, just nice making that little loop. That's an easy way to go about it. You can also add a clasp in between here if you want to do a bar clasp or a tubular bar. You could put that on as well. So there's a number of different ways to finish this bracelet off, but this is how you do the Rulla snakeskin bracelet using the Rulla beads, and how to do peyote. Tons of different patterns and designs that you can do. You can do rows of colors, blocks of colors, but the Rullas are really great because they move very, very quickly, and you can get done this bracelet in a fraction of the time that it would take you to make a similar bracelet in the peyote with just 8 O's, which is the size that they would be about equivalent to doubled. So have fun, and a little note, if you do want to use 15 O's for the sides, switch to 3 seed beads on the sides of the Rullas. 3 15 O's will go on the sides, 2 11 O's, or 1 8-O bead really holds it in there nicely. If you want a little bit of flair, you can also add a drop on the side in between 2 15-O seed beads. So thanks for watching. Have fun. Check out our classes at our different locations. Like us on Facebook, and hopefully you'll get a lot of information from us one way or the other, and have fun beading.